According to a recent survey, over 60% of Americans aged 45 and older still hold the majority of their assets in cash or regular savings accounts, even though inflation is quietly eroding the value of that money every single day. Have you ever felt like you've spent a lifetime saving, yet your financial future hasn't advanced? Many people once believed that holding cash was the safest option until they realized they had missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment opportunities. In this video, I will reveal 5 investment channels that are safer than cash, and at the end, I'll share the highest yielding personal choice you absolutely don't want to overlook. Holding cash is a sweet trap. I used to believe that cash was the safest place to put my trust. To hold it, to feel it, I thought nothing could be more certain than that. But time and bitter lessons from reality showed me one thing. Cash, once thought to be a loyal companion, turns out to be a silent betrayer. Once, I met an old friend at a reunion after 10 years apart. He told me that when he was younger, after saving a decent amount, about 100 million dong, he decided not to spend it recklessly but to keep it carefully as a nest egg for the future. For a whole decade, he never touched that money. I did the right thing, he said, his eyes full of confidence. But then, when he needed to buy a new motorbike for convenience, he was stunned to discover that the money he had saved years ago was now enough to buy only half of the bike he once dreamed of. Hearing that, I suddenly felt chills run down my spine. A strange feeling crept inside me. Not because my friend was wrong, but because he, like millions of others, had fallen into a sweet trap, the trap of cash. We often assume that holding money means holding value. But the truth is, every day that passes, the money you keep does not just sit still as you think. It is quietly eroded by inflation. Like a glass of water evaporating under the sun, if you don't refill or shield it, it will gradually run dry without you noticing. In Vietnam, the average inflation rate over the past 10 years has hovered around 3 to 4% per year. In the US, the figure is no less, especially after the COVID pandemic when costs from food to education skyrocketed. With just 4% inflation annually, after 10 years, 100 million dong effectively holds the value of only about 60 million. Purchasing power disappears silently and unnoticed. I remember reading a statistic that made me think deeply. In 2013, in the US, a new Toyota Corolla cost about $18,000. But by 2023, the same model, just a different production year, was priced close to $25,000. If you had kept $18,000 in your account for 10 years, you'd need at least $7,000 more to buy that same car. Is that really safe money? Or is it silently losing opportunity? We grew up believing that saving money is the safest option. Yet, when bank interest rates hover around 5 to 6% annually and inflation can surpass that any time, clearly, the interest isn't enough to offset the currency's loss in value. I used to think, let it be safe there, at least I won't lose. But the longer I held that belief, the more I realized that this mindset caused me to lose far more than I thought. I spent hours staring at spreadsheets, agonizing over where to invest. Every choice seemed risky, and out of fear of mistakes, I took the easiest path, leaving money idle in the bank. But the longer I waited, the more I saw myself falling behind those willing to take calculated risks. Like Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Associates, famously said, "Cash is trash." Cash is nothing but trash if you don't know how to make it work for you. In recent years, amid constant economic turmoil, those clinging to cash are the ones left behind fastest. Money is truly safe only when it's in motion and generating value. Don't let it lie dead in one place. Let it work, just as Warren Buffett did when he was very young. He didn't need much money to start, but he used intelligence, time, and patience to turn every penny into a vast fortune. He invested strategically, long-term, and without letting emotions control his decisions. As a result, he became a global symbol of financial resilience and growth. I understand everyone has fears about investing.
Fear of loss, fear of mistakes, fear of being deceived. But if you stand still because of fear, you miss out on precious opportunities that, with just a bit of courage, you could have seized. Like a mountain climber, if you always stand at the foot of the mountain afraid of heights, you'll never see the breathtaking view from the summit. Holding cash is not wrong, but holding it forever without doing anything with it, that's the real mistake. In the next part, I will share 5 investment options considered safer than holding cash. Channels that help you not only preserve your asset value, but also give you the chance to grow it sustainably. If you truly want to protect your financial future, don't look away from what's coming next. Sometimes just one timely decision can change your entire life.
Not investing today is losing tomorrow's future. I used to think, well, I have only a little money, so I'll just hold on to it safely. What if I lose everything by investing? But gradually, I realized this very mindset is the greatest danger. Holding on to cash doesn't make me richer. On the contrary, it silently drains away the life I want to build. You might not notice it, but every day that passes while your money sits idle in your account, you are unknowingly becoming poorer. It's a silent kind of poverty. No alarms, no warnings, no one to tell you. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. I've seen many people spend their entire lives saving every penny, cutting every expense, only to struggle during retirement, calculating every meal and every medicine. They thought they were doing the right thing, not wasting money, always saving. But what they didn't expect was that money left sleeping for too long becomes like a lazy child, learning nothing, working nothing, earning nothing. We live in a world where costs rise every day. Money doesn't have the ability to race against time. If you don't put it to work to generate value, one day you'll find yourself working harder, yet still unable to live better. Not investing isn't just missing an opportunity, it's surrendering your own future. Imagine if you don't make your money work for you, then you'll have to work for money forever. No investment means no passive income, no earning assets. That means you are entirely dependent on your labor and current job. And what happens if you lose that job tomorrow? What if you suddenly fall ill and can't work for months? What if the economy crashes, inflation skyrockets, and living costs double? Without accumulated assets, what will you use to survive those shocks? I still remember a vivid story an old mentor once told me. He had 2 classmates who graduated in 2005, each holding about $20,000, a significant sum back then. The first, fearing risk, kept all the money in a savings account. The second, after thorough research, chose to invest monthly in an ETF tracking the market index. 10 years later, the second person had nearly $60,000. The first? The money remained in the bank, but its real value was only equivalent to about $5,000 in 2005, adjusted for purchasing power. 2 choices, 2 paths, and 2 outcomes separated by an entire future. That was my wake-up call. I understood fear is natural, but if you let fear dictate your actions, you are surrendering control over your life. Afraid to lose money, so you don't invest? The truth is, the more you avoid investing, the more you lose. The power of compound interest, precious time, and the chance to build a solid financial foundation. When you clutch cash like a treasure, you're letting it slip away little by little without realizing.
Look at those who have achieved financial freedom, those you admire. They didn't get rich from a lottery or a stroke of luck. They got rich because they understood the rules of money flow. As Robert Kiyosaki said, the rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities, and the middle class buy debts. Assets aren't for show. They're the foundation of freedom. And the only way to build assets is to start investing, even in small amounts. Don't wait for everything to be perfect before you begin. The truth is, there will never be a perfect time. What you need is action, the courage to try, to learn, and to keep going despite failures. Just like Oprah Winfrey, Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, or Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank started almost from nothing. But with faith and persistence, they built empires worth millions. If you're hesitating, ask yourself, do I want to live actively or passively? You can choose to work until you're 70, still worrying about medical bills, or start today, step by step, so one day your money works for you. The future waits for no one. If you don't act, you are writing your own financial sentence. Holding cash seems like the safe choice, but it's actually a dangerous gamble. The worst part? You don't even realize you're playing it. Don't let your money's laziness drag you down. Let it be a tool, not a burden. Next, I will share with you 5 investment options that are not only safer than holding cash, but also help you build a strong, proactive financial future. Don't look away. This might be the turning point you've been searching for. Top 5 investment assets safer than cash. After realizing that holding cash is not the safe path I once believed, I began searching for alternatives, investment channels that don't require excessive risk, yet can protect assets from the erosive effects of time and inflation. And then I discovered something truly encouraging. There are still options better than cash, sometimes even safer, if you know how to approach them. These are the 5 investment channels I believe everyone should know about if they want to build a solid financial future without gambling everything away. The first assets, and where I began my investment journey, is government bonds and reputable corporate bonds. Simply put, bonds are loans you give to the government or large corporations, and they promise to pay you back your principal plus interest after a set period. The greatest advantage? Safety. Government bonds are almost risk-free because governments won't let themselves go bankrupt. As for corporate bonds, if you choose trustworthy companies like Vinamilk, Masan, or major U.S. corporations such as Apple or Microsoft, the risk is very low. I initially bought bonds through a securities firm, but later I found investing through bond ETFs much more convenient. Funds like iShares Core U.S. Aggregate Bond ETF in the U.S. allow you to invest in a diversified portfolio of bonds, helping to spread risk and provide greater stability. This is an ideal choice, especially for those entering middle age, preparing for retirement, or simply valuing certainty. But if you're young and want to optimize asset growth speed while maintaining reasonable safety, ETFs, exchange-traded funds, are the tools I recommend. Imagine not having to pick individual stocks or monitor market fluctuations. Just buy an ETF and instantly own a basket of stocks or bonds. This is a smart way to invest without needing to become a financial expert. I started with VOO, an ETF investing in the 500 largest U.S. companies, including giants like Apple, Amazon, Google, and Coca-Cola. It's like placing your faith in the entire U.S. economy, which historically is the world's most consistently growing economy. If you invested in VOO from 2000 until now, you'd have seen an average annual growth of over 8 to 10%, despite multiple crises. ETFs suit busy people who don't have time to research but still want their money to work smartly. That's why Warren Buffett, the legendary investor, once advised that if you don't know where to invest, just consistently put money into the S&P 500 index fund, like VOO, and let time do the rest. The third asset might sound traditional, but is never outdated. Gold. Gold has been a safe haven asset for centuries. When financial markets shake, currencies lose value, wars or crises occur, people turn to gold to preserve wealth. I used to think gold was just for jewelry, but after reading about its history, I understood its true value. Since 2000, gold prices have increased over 500%. It's not explosive growth, but steady, meaningful growth during turbulent market phases. I buy gold in 2 ways. Physical gold, like rings or bars, and through funds such as the SPDR Gold ETF. Each has pros and cons. Physical gold requires careful storage, while gold funds are convenient, easy to trade, and eliminate storage worries.
However, I never let gold exceed 10 to 15% of my portfolio because gold doesn't generate cash flow, it just preserves value, unlike stocks or bonds. It's the armor, not the money printer. Next, if you've dreamed of investing in real estate but are held back by the huge capital requirement, let me introduce REITs, real estate investment trusts. Instead of spending billions to buy a house, you can own shares of office buildings, shopping centers, industrial parks through REITs. REITs are companies that invest in rental properties like housing, hospitals, hotels, and distribute profits to investors as dividends. This means you gain both asset appreciation and steady income. I invested in VNQ, a U.S. commercial real estate REIT, and saw firsthand the stable returns and much higher liquidity compared to buying physical property. And finally, the assets I consider most crucial: investing in yourself. Knowledge, skills, and mindset are things no one can steal or devalue. Every book you read, every course you take, every skill you learn builds the foundation for your financial freedom. I once invested a small amount to learn content writing, which then allowed me to earn extra income beyond my main job. A friend studied design and started an online t-shirt printing shop. Others learned programming, drop shipping, or YouTube content creation. These investments sometimes yield far higher returns than stocks or gold because you control them, master them, and harness your own creativity to grow.
Billionaire Warren Buffett once said, "The best investment you can make is in yourself." I wholeheartedly believe this. Money can be lost, markets fluctuate, but knowledge and skills, once acquired, stay with you for life. Holding cash used to symbolize safety and power. But in this era, if you truly understand the value of time and money, you'll see cash is no longer king. Every day, the real value of the money in your wallet quietly erodes. And the scariest part is, most of us don't realize it until it's too late. The good news is, you don't need to be an expert or have hundreds of millions or billions to start. What matters is understanding that the journey to financial freedom begins not with a large sum, but with the right decision. The 5 investment channels I just shared, from bonds, ETFs, gold, REITs, to investing in yourself, are all effective ways to preserve capital, grow assets, and reduce risk much smarter than holding cash too long. So don't hesitate any longer. Choose at least one investment channel that fits your circumstances and goals. Start today, even if it's just 1 million, 5 million, or a few $100,000. Just start. Because the money you've worked hard for shouldn't sit idle in a safe. It deserves to work, earn returns, and help build a strong future for you and your loved ones. You don't need to be rich to start investing, but you do need to invest if you truly want to be rich. Thank you for spending your precious time watching this video. I hope my sharing of the top 5 investments safer than cash for personal finance has given you safer, more effective options than holding cash too long. If you're considering bonds, gold, or ETFs, please leave a comment below. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch the latest videos quickly. Wishing you a solid financial journey full of positive energy.